Hello to all you cyber futurists out there. It's Mario and Jesse. It is March 8th, 2021, and the cyber future is happening right here, right now. Jesse, tell them what's going on.
Mario, it's great to be here with you today. And Cyber Future Now is a weekly podcast that Mario and I put together that basically evolved out of phone conversations that we were having about all of the crazy stuff that's happening in the world today. And we thought it would make sense because we're doing a lot of planning and trying to figure out what the future is going to look like. And we thought, man, these ideas are really good. We should get them out there and other people might be interested. So basically, our concept for Cyber Future Now is we first review some of the news items that have taken place over the last week. Then we kind of prognosticate and talk about how that might shape the upcoming events of the week and beyond. And then we ultimately talk about planning for the cyber future and any insights that we can bring to the table that can help you prepare for what might be a radically different future than any of us might be expecting. So thanks for joining us, everybody.
Absolutely, 110%. Jesse and I were having discussions about how to take over the world, but we're not greedy. We're willing to share. So that's what inspired us to let this conversation flow out into the ether, as it were, so that you have a proverbial multi-purpose tool to handle any and all challenges that come your way. We recently decided to start surprising each other by pulling random topics that we find out of the news and how they fit into our narrative, how they fit into the things that we see in formation culturally, politically, economically, socially, how we can position ourselves to thrive. So I've got a short list here of a few things that I'm going to try to shock Jesse with. He's got a few things for me too, and I can't wait to see what he's going to show me. This has actually become really fun. I look forward to this now. That little bit of uncertainty kind of brings a spice to life. So with that said, Jesse, you want to shock me first, or do you want to be shocked?
Okay, I'll go for being shocked first.
Okay, perfect. I'm going to throw one up here. I don't know if this is going to shock you or not, but it shocked me. We may have even crossed paths on this one or talked about this previously, but this was the three three guys and a baby. It's like a movie. Actually, I think there was a movie back in the 90s.
And born in the 90s, they were not running a human train, though. Just
and I'm basically a live and let live kind of person. I don't particularly care what people are doing behind closed doors. But here's why this is relevant to the cyber future. The image we have here, the article I pulled up for people listening on the audio is about the gay polyamorous throuple, that's for three, that's a new thing, makes history by listing three dads on a birth certificate. While this may be historical, this is also somewhat irrelevant in the genetic scheme of things, as there is not a single breast, much less a pair, between the three of those guys to feed that baby. I'm sorry, feel free, go ahead.
Yeah, I saw this article during the week, and I wasn't, super excited about it. I think from a gender dynamics perspective and the proper rearing of a child, personally, I don't claim to be a PhD psychologist, and I like to be as tolerant as possible. But when you're talking about bringing minors into the situation, as opposed to just adults deciding to partake in debauchery themselves, I don't know. It's concerning to me. I personally wouldn't condone it necessarily. I don't know. All three of those guys look a little bit on the kind of nerdy, kind of weird side. I don't think I'd be asking any of them to be my boyfriend anytime soon anyways. So I don't know. Pretty weird. I actually, this is kind of gross, but Conan O'Brien made fun of this a lot
Really?
when it came out. Well, not
Really?
this, but what I'm about to reference is there's this horror movie that came out called Human Centipede. And so actually the first thing I thought when I first saw this story come out was like, oh great, the human centipede is having a baby. Like,
I don't begrudge somebody their orientation. None of my business what happens with consenting adults behind closed doors, as far as I'm concerned. But this is representative of the final sort of stage, if you will, of gender dysfunction, right? Because our birth rates are collapsing, and it really is going to take a 2.1 birth rate in order to maintain a population, and our population is actually going down. We're going to need more than that. We're going to need women having 3 kids, and not kids having 3 dads. and so I find this humorous because it's like a signpost, right? Right ahead, the twilight zone, and right ahead, the end of the line. I actually think we are months away from a hard bounce back into family life for a variety of reasons. Some of them are just going to be additional risks and stressors brought on by our present circumstances in the outer world. And so, this is what the news feels is important right now. Okay, fine. I kind of think that it won't be before too long.
I think that's a really astute observation on kind of flipping the pyramid upside down in terms of like what we need to do to, progenerate properly. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know what else to say besides God bless that kid, and I hope he comes out okay.
Yeah. And gentlemen, stock up on formula, because you got no, you don't have the mother around. I don't know where she is. Maybe she's around. I don't know.
Okay. Well, another thing this just brings into the question is like, gender like identity issues, and like I actually rewatched this old movie that was like really popular when I was in high school called Boondock Saints, and it didn't really hold up as good as some of the other movies from high school like The Matrix, but like there's a scene where William Dafoe, he's like a manly man gay guy, and he's like on this important phone call, and like his real faggy boyfriend is like super gay, being super gay, and like wants to cuddle with him, and when he gets off the phone he's like, you're such a fag. And it's like it's like, so I guess it's one thing, okay, to like, you like dick, okay, like whatever, but like in terms of gender identity and norms, and actually I didn't have this as one of my stories for this week, but there is a story that I did see come out about China supposedly has an initiative to remasculinize their male population. And like, so it does beg the question, I do consider myself, and I consider it a badge of honor to call myself somewhat of a conspiracy theorist. In my mind, I'm just a researcher and don't sign off on the official narrative without doing my own research. But like, I've watched video clips of like Russian intelligence chiefs talking about, they would run these initiatives and programs in countries to kind of degrade the society. And so like, we can have this, we have the left's narrative is basically that, gender identity and sexual orientation is given at birth. It's who you are. It's, it's a priori, like I like that philosophical term. It's like underlying at the core of, it's fundamental. Whereas like, if you look at traditional male type of psyche and behavior and how that relates to a healthy functioning society, and you ask yourself, well, okay, you like dick, but why do certain guys act effeminate? And is that, an active attack on masculinity, which is at the heart of potentially attacking our society?
Yeah, no, I think you bring up a good point. And I've seen numerous indications of chemical feminizing in the population going back 30, 40 years. And it does kind of make you, I don't know if this is an accident. I don't know if these guys are that stupid, birth control pills floating around in the water, estrogen mimickers and so many personal care products. How does that affect a population over 3 or 4 generations? I do think that these 3 guys we have here are not representative of the future of the United States. I think it's going to burn itself out actually fairly quickly. So I'm not worried, but sometimes you got to hit rock bottom before you get that dead cat bounce. So I just thought this was funny, representative of kind of where we are and where I don't think we're going to be very much longer. And to these 3 gentlemen, hey, live long and prosper. But yeah, I don't foresee this kind of archetype guarding the gates, as it were.
Yeah.
I don't think when the horn blows, they're going to be the ones pulling M4s and running up to the front line.
Yeah.
Okay,
right.
lay it on me. Show me what you got. Show me what you got.
Okay, let's see here. Sharing my screen. And I think I got Safari open here. Okay, so this is a brand new news item that just came out today. I actually have 2 similar stories like this. So I meant to have the other one up first. I wanted to break that story first, but since this is already up, I'm going to do this one now. So there's, Jake QAnon shaman Chansley is being, he had basically a court date today, and he is going to be remaining behind bars. And I read through this article, and it was pretty lame in terms of basically the judge said that I can't release you while we await your trial, because I can't be guaranteed that you're not going to partake in this sort of behavior again. But like, the behavior that he partook in, according to him and according to all the video footage of Jake, if you watched it, is like he walked in through open. He's the kid that was filmed at the Capitol, that found himself in the Senate chamber and sat in Mike Pence's chair and
okay, Buffalo Bill.
Buffalo Bill.
Got it. Okay.
Yes. So yeah, basically the judge was mad at him because his lawyer, who's some kind of pretty famous lawyer, set up an interview, a video conference interview behind the judge's back with 60 Minutes Plus. And he was on the inaugural first episode of 60 Minutes Plus. It's their new streaming 60 Minutes version. And it was really funny to hear the reporter talk, basically make this guy out to be like a violent rioter, when all he did was walk in with a movie prop spear, literally from a movie studio.
Yeah, face painter, right? The face painter.
And he walked in, he stopped people from eating some donuts. He didn't want them to steal, and then he said a prayer and did a chant in the chamber to bring good vibes back into the Senate chamber, and that's it. And he was escorted in there. And so they're trying to make him out to be this violent insurrectionist, and there's no weapons.
I've been hearing a lot of that. There was not a whole lot of stuff going on in the Capitol riot compared to what they were talking about. I guess something about people, they thought everybody was packing heat and almost nobody was, and there were very, very few skirmishes or whatever. Yeah. This one, there. Yeah. Okay, this guy. All right, there you go. I'm finding politics just matters less and less now. I think, well, we'll see. We'll see if by the fall, if it becomes a situation where, DC is trying to get the attention of the rest of the country. Hey, listen to us. We did something today. Just because their power, their authority is kind of declining. A lot of people are just kind of they ain't gonna wait for these characters and their empty promises and false hopes. I've been hearing a lot of that within the SBA. You know, everybody's waiting on trying to get the rest of the idle grants or the paycheck protection programs and stuff. And the SBA is kind of dragging their feet, not following their own rules, not following the laws when they're passed. And people are just kind of going, you know what do we need these characters for? Now, is this guy, what's his situation? Is he looking at a prison sentence?
Yeah, I can't remember the specific charge, but I guess it carries a maximum sentence of like 20 to 25 years. Like they've got him on serious charges, like, you know, and
Really?
yeah,
For
but like meanwhile, Kamala Harris is setting up bail funds for people that burnt down like federal buildings in Seattle and Kenosha, Wisconsin and stuff like that. So
I think
it's
that's
just
exactly why we're going to see it break down. Is this hypocritical stuff is going to go too far, right? Because
yeah,
it does require the public's consent, even if that consent is only offered from fear, right? But if it gets too far, people ain't afraid anymore of the repercussions, especially if they can't really be enforced. People go, man, screw it, you know. Speed limit says 55. I'm going 60. What are you gonna do about it?
definitely.
I well, you know what? Based upon what I saw on TV, I don't think he did anything that warrants 25 years in jail.
Yeah,
I mean, you know, like,
yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how his case goes. I feel bad because I've heard that he's been being held in solitary confinement simply because like the other prisoners know who he is and he's got like, a rep. He's like famous. And so they're separating
that
him
would
and his
not be
stuff.
good. No, not be good. Yeah. No. Well, hey, you know, this is like think I mentioned it before. I feel like we're entering a post-political era now, as the currency issues show up and the corporatocracy tends to lose its teeth. The technocracy and the crypto is coming, but it's slow because let me tell you, I've been messing around with Ethereum a little bit lately, and I forgot how slow and expensive it is. And I'm very much curious to see, can they fix this problem? Because I was talking with somebody earlier about it. I said, you know, pioneers, Conestoga wagons. That's the issue. They are a pioneer. They were first. Great idea building it out. But man, this thing is at best a railroad. It is not a highway right now.
Yes. So Ethereum is actually one of the cryptocurrencies that I'm least familiar with. And when I think about Ethereum, the number one thing that comes to mind is smart contracts. I guess that was kind of their big
Mhm,
innovation in the space when they started.
mhm.
And like at a very, very simple level, that's like basically writing some logic into your like cryptocurrency to say, like, for example, do not unlock wallet for 10 years. And
Mhm,
then
mhm.
then you can like give somebody a gift and say it's like a 10-year treasury note. You can't, or a T-bill or whatever, treasury bond, you can't cash it in for a certain amount of time, type of a thing. So like, but I guess it is a compute platform. And one of the things I've heard recently about Ethereum, we were actually texting about this earlier, is that they're moving to proof of stake
Mhm.
versus proof of work. And so like I get, proof of work is like heavily compute heavy. You're using GPUs to
Yep.
solve cryptographic equations and unlock more. But like when they just need you to stake the coins on the network to prove that they're real and use some sort of consensus algorithm, I think that's what a lot of the newer coins are doing. So it's kind of in a way almost like they're kind of playing catch up. And so it's
Yes.
kind of like, well, okay, so you didn't think of proof of stake in the first. They say that it was always on the roadmap or whatever. So I don't know. I'm definitely interested in like buying cryptocurrencies that are going to go up in value. And like from everything I looked at with Ethereum, it's just like I see other players in the space that are going to have more growth potential that I'm more interested in. So like you and I have an interest in Theta, and
Mhm.
that Theta can do smart contracts and more, and has that staking feature. So yeah, that's kind of where I stand on it.
Yeah, yeah. I find it interesting because right now the growth in the cryptocurrency space is largely being driven by the uncertainty in the dollar space, in my opinion. The bust up in Bitcoin price during the lockdown, right? And it goes, but Bitcoin goes up what 12, 13x in the lockdown. No more. It was down. It was under 4,000, I believe, last year around March or so. So uncertainty, dollars go into Bitcoin. Then it just starts pouring into Ethereum. I don't think people even know what the heck Ethereum is. It's just literally on name recognition right now is causing the price surge. I don't think it's really being used all that much by a lot of people. And yeah, it is in theory a network or a highway that you can drive on, right? And you can drive certain applications and put all these other tokens on and drive them, but it's like a toll road, and it's expensive and it's slow. And while I'm watching the market go up, and Ethereum went up to almost 2,000 at one point, I'm like, has anybody actually ever tried using this shit, or are they just buying it on Coinbase? Because if they tried it, it's like I paid $2,000 for this slow, clunky piece of crap, and so I'm wondering what its long-term viability is going to be as other projects have been built on the shoulders of Ethereum's history, right? So not to denigrate or to dismiss it, but practically speaking, man, it is slow, it is expensive, and other people have been building on their limitations and errors, and Ethereum needs to catch up, or it could risk dropping out of relevance as these things get adopted and put into usage. Like you said, proof of work versus proof of stake. So, I think Bitcoin, digital gold, actually the slow blockchain and high transaction fees suit that idea of having gold in a vault. Not supposed to move it around casually, but this thing, no, you need an 8-lane super highway that's fast and cheap in order for it to be used. And that's where I think watching what Theta's doing, I think they've built out a better system for this. Will people adopt? Let's see. We will find out.
We'll find out.
Yeah. All right. What's next?
Okay. So I actually don't have a ton to say. I really want to just get your take on this, because
Okay, sure.
I don't really have a ton to say about it, except that it's a new news story that I thought was something that we should probably discuss, is that the Treasury yield rises
Oh, yes. So, people on the forefront in the capital markets, the dollar-denominated markets, have been talking about for years, actually, the relationship between the 10-year Treasury bond yield, right, the return on a 10-year Treasury bond, and the strength of the dollar as measured on the U.S. dollar index. And the stage 4 cancer of the dollar will be apparent when we see the yield spike up and the dollar index go up at the same time, because that coincident measures, right? The yield on the 10-year going up and the dollar index going up is going to indicate that the purchasing power of the dollar is rapidly declining. There'd be a rapid evaporation of the dollar's ability to buy stuff, and how one will see that reflected in elevated gas prices, elevated food prices, especially like the daily essentials, the weekly essentials that we all rely on, right? Food and gas prices, we'll see that go up. So many people are talking about this and watching it closely, and we shall see. I have heard some people say that if we see the the 10-year yield go over 1.75 and the dollar index start to move back into the high 90s, that is maybe like the time to get out. If you got your stocks, pull them. You think about an illegal card game and the cops are about to come break it up. Pull your cash off the table and go. These are indications, and I think this is where nobody really talks about paying off the U.S. national debt anymore. It's kind of become a non sequitur or an irrelevant thing because it's just so ungodly big that everybody knows it's not really going to happen. So then the question is, how do we manage or live in debt forever, ever increasing debt? And these will be the indications that it spirals, out of the control of the governing entities like the Federal Reserve and the SEC and the IMF, et cetera. So we watch closely, and that's why having cryptos and precious metals are the hedge against that eventuality.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Is it seemed to be an indicator of inflation, along with there's been a lot of talk. Actually, one thing I heard an analyst say is that in the short term, this inflation, if the stimulus package does pass, is going to feel kind of good. Like it is that sugar water type of thing, and like there is going to be money rolling around, but like very quickly you're going to see prices spike. And like from just what sold me on cryptocurrency when I started looking at this stuff was a lot of the guys on Bitcoin TV, which is a really great 24-hour, 7 days a week streaming on YouTube of different experts in Bitcoin. And one of the big things that they talk about is how fiat currency, as managed by the central banks, like the Federal Reserve, is different than a cryptocurrency in that one, basically you can kind of print in perpetuity, and the other, there's ever going to ever be so much of it. And I think I kind of lost my train of thought there a little bit, but the thing that it was basically the two schools of economics that have kind of proliferated. So fiat currency maps to the Keynesian school of economics, and their whole idea is that you can use this central power to buy your way out of disaster just by using the power that comes from having this centralized entity. But like the Austrian school of economics basically says that that's fraudulent, and that like you can just use simple math to understand that if you have 1 of something to represent 10 of something, and then now you have 10 of something to represent 10 of something, like each of these is going to be more expensive because you have more of them to buy each of it. It's just like so simple to but like we unfortunately like have these super high paid people, Ben Bernanke and Janet Yellen and all these freaking idiots that somehow believe that their fancy words like quantitative easing and bending the yield curve and everything like that actually makes sense. But like the Austrian school of economics says bullshit. The only way to wealth is through investment, and the only way to investment is through savings. And how fiat basically works is through stealing future savings from people. And so you're just continually robbing wealth and stealing future growth to fuel short-term feel-good bullshit. And when people are now have finally for the first time in history a viable alternative like cryptocurrency, like Bitcoin, like you're very highly likely historically to see a speculative run by the middle class, and they're going to herd into it, and it's going to explode because it's so much of a better solution than idiot monkeys that you didn't elect, or maybe did or maybe didn't, who knows, printing bullshit that nobody asked for. So that's my 2 cents.
Fiat is unsustainable. It has never been able to sustain throughout history, and God, I don't think it was ever really last longer than 100 years or so. And so here we are, turning the wheel again, this time with a little bit more math and a little bit more electricity at our disposal to make a system that is going to be harder to cheat, right? That is the promise of the blockchain concept and the distributed ledger system, same thing. But we got to get through the transition. And to that point, perfect segue, because this is the next one I was going to show you. Mortgage rates and rising up back in March. And here's the thing. So 10-year yield bumped up, but then it kind of flatlined, almost as if it was being held and not allowed to move, right? Interest rates went up at the beginning of March, then they kind of came back down, almost as if they're being held and not allowed to move, right? Because if the interest rates go up, that'll be another indication of dollar inflation. Again, the dollar losing its potency as a currency. And so watch this carefully. And if you are interested in getting real estate with cheap dollars at low interest rates, make sure you position yourself to get it now. Because at some point, these rates are going to go up. And it'd be a whole crazy scenario, dominoes. Prices could come down, rates could go up, and then you might even have trouble buying it if you can't figure out who owns it. When the MERS system kind of falls flat. Mortgage electronic registry system, not the Middle Eastern respiratory syndrome. So yeah, you got that 780 middle FICO score and a little bit of money, go get yourself a fourplex.
Yeah, this is something that you and I have talked about quite a bit, and I'm actually currently looking at the U.S. Department of Agriculture loans for basically they have zero down, like low interest programs for people that are interested in moving to rural areas. So I like the fourplex idea from a residual income perspective. I also love the idea of homesteading and having a lot of, like, basically that is like my number one goal in life right now. Or I'd say close to it. I've got some spiritual goals that might supersede that, but like my number one physical earthly goal right now is like basically getting that homestead, because like, kind of tying this into, well, what is a cyber future going to look like? And it's going to be about resiliency and, your what you produce will be valuable. And if you're not producing, you're going to really struggle. I think we're going to have a production-based economy as we're unable to rely on China more and more. So if you have a homestead and some of the spooky tech starts to be released where you have access to, building things here in the U.S. Well, I figure, okay, if I could have something zoned for residential / agriculture, put up some greenhouses, potentially, eventually, potentially have them managed partially by robots or something of that nature, and doing some livestock, raising chickens, things like that. I think it's going to be big again.
I agree.
Personally.
I agree. And USDA loans, that's a good point. The viewers should be aware. USDA loans are available in rural areas, and it's no down payment. And they're a little more flexible on the credit. If you're looking to get land that you could live on and perhaps put into production in some way, shape, or form, not a bad way to go. USDA loans, homestead, it's a good idea. All right. Oops. Put this back up. All right. I got one more. You got another one?
I got one more too.
Perfect. Go for it.
Give me 1 second here. Let's just see what we can do here. Sorry, everybody. Still getting used to this whole deal. All right. So I'm actually breaking this news right now, but I have some news about a story that I've been following that hasn't been getting a lot of major mainstream media press. But This is actually what I wanted to break at the top of the show, but I actually listened in on Austin Steinbart's court date today. There was a call-in number to kind of hear what was going on. And I can actually report that Austin Steinbart, I'll give you a little background. Basically, he claims to be the Q behind QAnon. He's a 30-year-old who appeared to be from Chandler, Arizona, and claims to be a defense intelligence agent who has been running the Q operation. And he got sent to prison for basically, he ran kind of a media campaign as he started developing somewhat of a following. And this company, Dado, he claims basically stole a bunch of important information that he had on Hillary Clinton and John McCain. He had like all of this basically damning information. A lot of it was actually from WikiLeaks, and Dado didn't like it, shut him down, and he got his supporters to all call Dado and say, hey, give Austin Steinbart his data back. Like, you can't just go shutting somebody down and stealing their crap. And they basically claimed that he was using state commerce technology because of the phone lines, and he was encouraging like I don't know what the exact charge was, but it was serious. It was like a federal crime. Basically, they're saying that he was intimidating this corporation for profit or for gain. And so basically the news that I'm breaking tonight is that he actually pled guilty to the charges. Today, he decided to represent himself, and he put in a plea deal. And the judge accepted the terms today. The parole officer was not on site for the trial, so they couldn't do sentencing today, even though they wanted to do that. And supposedly he was supposed to meet with his parole officer about an hour ago. And the latest he'll be getting out of prison is May 17th. But if they come to an agreement with the parole on what they think he needs in terms of all of that happening, he might get out a lot sooner. And
so this is the guy. And he says back on the internet and out of jail?
Well, he's not back on the internet yet. He's still sitting in a jail cell now, but he pled guilty. The judge accepted his guilty plea, and now he's awaiting sentencing. And so, I mean, the maximum is 2 years in prison and a $250,000 fine, and he's already served several months in prison. And since they accepted the plea deal and everything like that, the thinking was kind of like they ain't going to be keeping him in there much longer, most likely. Instead of having to go to trial and all of that stuff. So we're expecting him out sooner rather than later, and it's to be seen. I personally get a good feeling that he's Q. He seems pretty legit. He seems like a pretty upstanding citizen, a pretty good guy in my opinion, and has a lot of supporting.
He doesn't look dangerous.
Yeah.
I mean, he just doesn't look dangerous.
Exactly. He's a computer nerd. I mean, he's a super cool guy. And I wrote to him in prison and got a letter back from him. So he's a really genuinely nice guy. And like, I guess the reason this is important to me is, okay, I do live in the conspiracy world. And I like admit that I don't have hard proof for everything that, I believe personally but I think it's important to think about the world from a big perspective and try and figure out how things are exactly going on. But the cool thing about Austin Steinbart is that if he is who he says he is, he's basically claiming that not only is he going to run the Space Force someday, but he's also claiming that he's going to run Black Ops. And he basically says that the last person that ran Black Ops was John McCain. And that all the intelligence stuff that happened off of the books, all the cocaine deals and heroin deals and children trafficking and stuff like that, the finances off the books intelligence operations was actually all run by John McCain. And supposedly he was a heroin addict, pedophile, total creep, really bad dude. And Austin Steinbart's new vision for running Black Ops is actually to have it be run off of cryptocurrencies. And so like, I don't want to get too much into the weeds right now, but he used some very special technology to figure out that cryptocurrency was going to be worth a lot before anybody else. And if it's true, he's sitting on potentially billions and billions and billions of dollars in crypto holdings that can now finance off the books intelligence operations, and we don't need to rely on heroin and children trafficking anymore to do that. And the very interesting thing is that the biggest piece of proof is, I haven't checked the deed or the title to this place, but supposedly there's this huge mansion down in the southern part of Arizona, more towards the Phoenix area, and supposedly it's his. People say it's his, and it's like, it's the most ridiculous looking place you've ever seen. Like, it looks like a billionaire's like palace kind of a deal. So,
Okay.
so I just thought I'd give that update since the mainstream media news won't cover Austin Steinbart. I think it's big news, and hopefully he'll be out of prison soon.
Well, if he's in jail for no good reason, I mean, that does happen. I mean, that's Buffalo Bill. I mean, what's he in jail for? You know, just being disrespectful to the authorities. Is that you know, is that enough? You know, just basically throwing their crap back in their face, of which they have plenty.
Right.
All right, cool. Well, I remember you mentioned this guy. I never really I looked at what he looked like. He's young.
He's yeah, just turned 30.
Huh. All right. I got one more here. I'll tie this up. This is just a little more information leaking through and along the internet regarding vitamin D. And I thought this was interesting because this was in Ireland, where you don't get a whole lot of sun. And this guy, Dr. Daniel McCartney, human nutritionist and dietetics at the University of Dublin, so is trying to get the Irish to take vitamin D as a COVID protection. And yeah, there is an extensive body of research showing the proactive role of vitamin D, protective role of vitamin D against COVID-19. And that is going to be part and parcel of the cyber age, I think, as we live through the process of this thing moving around for the next little while. Is just take your vitamin D, get your cryptos. Try not to spend too much money on Ethereum gas.
Get a gun.
Get a gun. Get a homestead. And you know, let these dollar denominated dickwads decline into irrelevance as they should. There probably is be no greater punishment for those attention whores than to just become irrelevant.
Yeah, that really, I mean, I don't know, because I haven't talked to, I actually, for the first time since the inauguration of Biden, did hop on the phone with one of my liberal friends who admits to having voted for Joe Biden. And like, he didn't have a ton of good things to say. And he sure had a lot of questions for me. He was asking me a lot of questions about what I thought was going on and why there's still a huge fence around the Capitol and why there's still a bunch of National Guards seeming to, be in an occupied zone. So,
you know, all the promises, the $15 minimum wage, we're going to wipe out the school loans, we're going to get everybody giant stimulus checks. It's the beginning of March, and there's been a big nada. You know, there's even a Twitter feed with people just chiming in going like, what the heck, man? You know, dude's not, keeping any of his promises or doing it. It's like, yeah, shocker. So yeah, I think we're just going to see a decline of political relevance. Probably some of the sweetest revenge you can get. Imagine they pass laws and just people don't follow them if they don't make sense. They have a State of the Union address and nobody shows up.
There's a verifiable quote by one of the Rothschild banking elite. I can't remember who said it, but he basically, the quote is, give me control of the money supply and I care not who makes the laws. And, let's see how things play out with the central banks. And, they're obviously looking at these central bank digital currencies now. CBDCs seem like it's going to be a big
Mhm.
trending topic. But, I think we are at the precipice here in terms of a major historical event, a fourth turning of like massive, massive scale. And people aren't realizing how foundational sound money is to a society and how
At all.
screwed up our culture has become, you know, living on really shitty money.
I
So,
agree. And it's sobering to see that even the people who are catching the buzzwords right now, oh, Bitcoin this, or oh, vitamin D, whatever's, the things that are going to be a big part of the future. Um, and the mass majority of people have no idea what's going on with with our economics, with our politics, anything. And man, things are happening fast, fast. It's exciting. Um, but boy, if you're behind the curve on this, it could feel very overwhelming as well.
yeah, definitely. Well, the good news is if you're, I guess, advice to anybody out there is find a means for cash flow and
Mhm.
find a way to have savings every month and get that savings into Bitcoin. If that's the simplest, easiest thing I can tell you, buy some physical silver while you still
Mhm.
can.
Mhm.
SD Bullion, you told me about that place.
Yep.
That's seems like a good option. You might not be
Yep.
able to get physical silver pretty soon, and throw it in crypto and enjoy like sit once you realize how good savings feels like again, and like there's all these alternative options in the crypto space. Like one thing that you and I talked about or have been texting about is, so there's, for people out there that are like, okay, Bitcoin's too volatile, right? And
Mhm.
I can't wrap my mind around potentially it going down to 25K tomorrow. It's sitting at 50. Like, even though I know it's, if you're right, Jesse, and it's going to go up to 100, 400, a million eventually, if I see that drop of 50%, I'm going to be a weak hand and I can't stomach that, and I'm going to sell when it drops because I'm a
Mhm.
fool. Okay, well, if that's where your mind is at, start thinking about what you would just get in an for example, a savings account is going to pay next to nothing. Maybe some of them now, the online ones are paying like 1, 2, maybe 3%, and a money market account or something like that. Well, let me give you a basically risk-free. The only risk is the inflation of the US dollar, which is significant. But if you're just not ready to have that conversation about inflation yet, what you can do is exchange all the dollars in your savings account that you're getting 1% on, exchange that for a treasury, for something, a crypto called Tether. That is basically they print more of it as more dollars enter the money supply. So they peg the value of a tether to a dollar.
I did
And
not
so
know that. Okay.
Tether will always equal $1 US, or 99.999 cents, or $1.0001, something like that. They always peg it, so it's always floating there. It's called a stable coin.
Mm.
So there are these platforms popping up now. One of they're basically called DeFi, decentralized finance, and there's one that is run by a company that I'm very interested in called Nexo, and there's another one that a group that you and I are interested in, a crypto viewing group, where they talk about another one where you don't need to enter your ID or proof of who you are or anything. You can basically just stake your wallet. It's called 1inch. It's a 1inch exchange, and I'll try and put that in the program notes.
Mhm.
But basically, these decentralized finance places will pay you up to 12% just to hold your tokens there. So convert it all to digital dollars with Tether and earn 12% on that.
12%.
That's more than you're ever going to get ever. And So I'm personally getting super excited about the crypto space. I'm ready to become the Donald Trump of crypto, and basically he was the king of debt. You know, Donald Trump used leverage and used debt better
It's
than
all real
anybody
estate.
out there.
Yep.
And so like I see the opportunity to do that. Well, again with Nexo, I don't know about 1inch, but with Nexo, basically if you stake your coins with them, you can get a secured loan and then buy more crypto. So you're going leveraged on your crypto. And the way they do it, they can like margin call you, they can call in the loan, so to speak, but they'll just use some of your underlying assets if you go over their threshold. So I think like the maximum right now is a 70%. So if the value of the coin goes down and you're leveraged at 70%, they'll start pulling on some of your underlying equity out to manage the loan to value ratio. But you know, I'm just sitting on some of these cryptos and I'm like, man, are you telling me if I just plug it in and I really think it's all going to go up anyways?
Right.
Like I could, like, why would I not want to go leverage on something I believe in? If it's as valuable, more valuable than real estate, and people are becoming billionaires going leveraged on real estate, imagine what you could do going leveraged on crypto.
Well, I think is a very, very solid point about inflation of the dollar is certain because it's ongoing. So the dollars that you hold in savings are losing purchasing power, have been for 100 years. And the interest rates that we're getting back on the accounts are very, very small. So yeah, I mean, you can literally take some of your savings, convert them into, I didn't know that about Tether. I'll have to look at something like Tether. And if you're earning 12% on that, that's significant. I mean, that's orders of magnitude better than what the banks are going to give you right now.
Yep.
And there are more than a few coins and systems in the crypto space that are developing similar type of returns.
Some of it's built some of it's built into the coin, some of it uses a 2-coin system. So
Mhm,
like you and I like Theta, and Theta
mhm,
is a 2-coin system where
yep.
when you get 1,000 coins, you can stake it and become a part of a node, a validator node, and you get paid in Theta Fuel, another token for
Mhm,
staking. And there's one that I'm invested in called Algo. I think the full name is Algorand. But basically they pay a 6.1% annual percentage yield, and it gets deposited in, and it's like compounding because you're buying more algo with it. So
mhm,
like I'm
mhm.
accumulating more algo, and that algo is accumulating more at 6%. And it's like every day in Coinbase, I'm seeing a little deposit in my account daily just for holding
Mhm,
it.
mhm.
And it's going up in value too. Not only am I accumulating compound interest on it,
You're
also the
accumulating more of the
underlying,
token as the token itself is going up.
yeah,
And we'll see many of these tokens just continue to absorb all these dollars that are being created. So it kind of it does look like kind of an inflation hedge in a way. I mean, even the rise of the Bitcoin price in a lot of ways reflects the decline of the purchasing power of the dollar, or the decline in the confidence of it. So you know, Bitcoin at $1 million means that you're probably not going to be using dollars as much, right? You may end up where you're swapping stuff out. It'll be like the 1800s, you know, 1800s in the wild, wild west. You had regional currencies. You may have maybe had currency in California you couldn't use in Kansas because everything was built around what was in that region, in that area. You can maybe swap it out, sure, but or maybe you just had a couple three. We may see a similar situation form around the world, certainly in the U.S. over this decade. Mhm.
yeah. So exciting times. From all of my research, it seems to be that once you see a currency reach the end of its life cycle, it's a pretty actually swift
Yeah.
jump into the next big thing. So like, you know, we just may see these, you know, they say the best revenge is living well. And, you know, I have more than one friend that never has to work again because of crypto. And I'm like,
Mhm.
you know, I don't think I'm just drinking the Kool-Aid. I think that I see why it's valuable, because scarcity is valuable, and it's the perfectly scarce resource in
Well,
crypto.
it's been chosen. Even the establishment has chosen it as a landing spot. I think the establishment knows more than the public does that the dollar is going to run out of usefulness sooner rather than later. And locking down the world for the last year has just accelerated that. So I think they all kind of know that the party's coming to an end soonish, and they've already made their decision. We're going here next.
One, like, I really think that this all ties. I was talking to a friend about this yesterday, that it ties upstream in our value system almost to like, it almost becomes religious in some perspective, because like if you look at basically the two basic worldviews that exist, they're in terms of like people's philosophical viewpoints. There's like the secular humanist idea that basically materialism, like all there is matter, and mind is a secondary phenomenon that just arises out of
Mhm,
this dead
mhm, mhm,
material that is. And so there is no real meaning. It's just mind is a phenomenon. It happened. And then like whoever has the power system in place to control mind can control matter, sort of thing. But then
mhm,
there's the other group of people out there that say matter is a manifestation of mind. Mind is the underlying phenomenon of reality. Consciousness, if you link consciousness to God in a sense, that there
mhm,
is something of substance that, that matter is then a secondary phenomenon that materializes out of this mind, you know,
mhm,
base a priori assumption about the universe. And so like if you were going to build a currency around a mindset of matter over mind, of materialism, then I would build fiat currency, because nothing really means anything. And as long as I can print the dollars and keep control, and
true.
then
It's kind of
on
true.
the other hand, if something of value is at the basis of reality, something exists, whatever this phenomenon is that you and I are in, then
Mhm.
everything has value intrinsically, including cryptocurrency, and it like is a poetic way of expressing that underlying value in everything. I don't know, that's my
Yeah,
take.
it is congruous with nature. I mean, natural law, like sustainables, anything really is congruous with nature. And I know that you got some people who, what's the right way to put this? You got the environmentalists who think that human beings are a cancer on the world, and 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 are very kind of self-loathing and loathing of others based upon that premise. And yet, I think we bring a lot of value and balance to the world, and can anyway. Just a matter of how we live in congruence with natural law. You could extrapolate out how cryptocurrency and the decentralization of things has congruency with like a holographic model. It's like holographic money. All of the parts in each little part, sort of replicating fractal type stuff. So I think we're heading in a good direction. I really do. I think it'll be a little bit of a bumpy transition, but it's just because we're moving fast, and a lot of people are just not going to be ready when it happens. But it looks like it's been chosen as a landing space, and you get ahead of the game and enjoy the ride instead of have a tough time.
And hopefully everybody else that doesn't get in as quickly as you will also realize that benefit down the line, because it intrinsically has value. So like even if you're like the guy that just lived under a rock and didn't find out about Bitcoin for another 5 years when it's $1 million, even then if you were still to get it, and it should still increase in value, and you should still be excited about it at that
I
point.
think it'll be in a better system all the way around. Hopefully, it looks like that. Bear in mind, we tend to have this, myself as well, where we still think in dollars. When Bitcoin is $1 million is not going to mean the same thing that it does right now. I mean, Bitcoin's 50 grand right now. When Bitcoin is 20 times that price, the dollar is not going to have the same meaning. We'll be talking about Satoshis or I don't know, maybe how things are valued relative to ounces of gold or silver or something. It's going to be, and that's going to, I think, going to be the hardest part for a lot of people because we have our entire lives been conditioned to value everything in dollars, and we're not going to be doing that a whole lot longer.
Yeah.
Months, I think we're going to start to change that perspective. I mean, Bitcoin's $1 million. Okay, so that means that gas is $40 a gallon. A steak is $80. Nobody's buying that stuff with dollars at that point. They'll be buying it with something else. Like it'll, it won't. You'll be doing something different. Even if you're still getting a paycheck, like if you work at the post office, for instance, and you get your paycheck, you're going to be taking it and converting it into something that's actually not losing buying power as quick as possible. You'll be converting it so that it doesn't just evaporate. That's what the situation we see like in Venezuela right now. So anybody who comes into, and only they don't have this solution in hand available for use, I anticipate that we will. And so even somebody, coming out of the woods 5 years from now, probably going to be in a fairer playing ground, a more honest, even playing ground where your merit will determine what your rewards are, which I think will be nice.
Amen to that. Yeah, the closer you are to the supply of money, the better, the more advantageous of a position you are. So that like all these major banks that are positioned and suckling at the teat of the Federal Reserve are always going to win. But like when you go to this decentralized finance model, it's like you're going to have a lot of millionaires, but not as many billionaires. It's going to be spread out. And so like I think decentralized, even though like there's going to be a lot of rich people and maybe some not so rich, should be better than just a super small aristocracy at the very top of only a few elite that have access to all of the goods.
Just get rid of the parasite class.
Parasite class.
Yeah, it's just the parasite class. Yeah. So on that note, hey, we covered a lot of ground this week. Next week, who knows where current events and stupid people playing for stupid prizes will take us. It's going to be fun to watch. Jesse, anything you want to offer in closing?
I don't think so. Thanks for joining us, everybody, and we'll see you next week.
Have a great week, everybody. Oh, there we go. I had to stop the recording. Okay.